the big part of the story was I was actually at that point forced to confront a truth I'd never considered. And that is you can't negotiate trust with your body. You have to earn it. Your body has to trust you. And so I thought success meant I could outwork any obstacle, and that included my body. And then my body stops responding the way I was expecting, right? And I realized that healing wasn't just physical. It required building trust in all these different areas that we've been talking about with myself.
What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie, and I'm on a mission to help people become their favorite versions of themselves and build whole human health by healing their relationship with food and movement, healing their relationship with their body, and most importantly, healing their relationship with themselves. And we are doing that without obsessing over a number on a scale. I've had the honor of talking with all kinds of incredible humans who have lived through all kinds of experiences because that's part of being a human. Life is messy, painful, beautiful, complicated, and transformative, and sometimes all at once. I wholeheartedly believe that every time someone shares their story, somebody listening will take something from it. Maybe they'll feel seen, maybe they'll feel inspired. Maybe they'll learn something that shifts the way they see themselves, their life, their health, or what healing can look like. This podcast tells the stories of humans healing, growing, rebuilding self-trust, and unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. Well, welcome to the Unveiling the Beast podcast. Can you tell myself and the listeners a little bit about who you are and why you think you are who you are?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. So my name is Debbie Simmons, and I get a lot of wonderful titles that we all get in our lives, and I am a mom. I'm a wife. I am a grandma. They call me Lolly to 15 grandkids and 9 children total. And then I am a CEO of a nonprofit that I started about 16 years ago that serves thousands of individuals each year, helping families thrive and working through kind of their difficult situations to be the best people that they can be. And then I also get to work alongside CEOs and help them figure out how to make sure they can trust the structure of their organizations so that their organizations can thrive. And those are all things that I've learned over the years. And, the reason I am who I am is because this is how God has uniquely created me. He's created me to be a builder, to be a person that is willing to go above and beyond to make sure that we can pave new ways, have relationships with Him, and also impact each other for good, for us to be successful both now and for eternity.
I love that. I'm curious. We were talking a little bit about this before I hit record, but I don't think there's such a thing as work-life balance. But my question for you is, how do you manage all of that? Specifically 15 grandchildren.
Well, I don't get to see all of them all the time, but the truth of the matter is, work-life balance is an interesting thing, especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you're starting something. I would say anything that you're called in to do, and you feel led to do it. One, if you're married, your spouse needs to come alongside you and be very committed to that too, because obviously that to start a nonprofit and everything that we need to do took a lot of time, energy, money. And we needed to be committed together. When we're committed together, that makes it easier to help balance the load from that perspective. But are there times that I got overwhelmed? Sure. And are there times that maybe I need to take myself a little less seriously? Yeah. And so I have to learn, and this is just for me. For me, I just get up every day and I go, okay, God, these are my plans and these are my thoughts, and you do what you want with me for the day. And you show me what success looks like. So then if I get someone come in my office and interrupt something, I know to look for what God is kind of doing. And I also know that, hey, I'll get done exactly what I need to do today if I lean in and I figure out what's going on with this employee and help them walk their way. And it may not be my whole checklist, but you know what? I don't know. Somehow I get it all done. And so, am I tired at times? Yeah. And do I need to take care of myself? Yeah. It's more and more important as I've gotten older to look at, like, okay, what am I putting in my body? I can't live on Cokes all day anymore. I could
Yeah.
when I was young, but that's not going to be the case now. So,
Yeah. Has there ever been a time when it was too much and maybe you didn't know it was too much? Like your plate was not just full, but also like going all over your table.
this is how I generally know that I have had too much is when I can no longer be grateful. And I'm becoming irritated about things, then I realize that I've really bumped up against my bandwidth. And
Hmm.
if I don't figure out how to take some time for me in that, then I am going to lose it. And the truth is, my children aren't my enemy, right? But they're really good at hitting my buttons. And so if I'm not in a good, healthy place, then when they hit my button, they usually hit my button because they're losing it, right? And it reminds me of something in my history. And my body just reacts. And if I don't get healthy, then guess what? I'm going to explode. They're going to continue to explode. And all of a sudden, we've got this very vicious cycle that everybody's going to get scarred in. And I don't want that. And so I had to learn early on. This is what children taught me, is that I have a lot of healing to do on me. And I need to actively work on that so that I could be fully present when they're losing it. And this is, my kids have trauma backgrounds, and there's a lot of things that they faced when they were younger that they shouldn't have had to. And uh, that being the case, then the safe people in their lives are where they let down their guard. And it
Yeah.
can be difficult, right? And so I know that, and I know that when I start getting elevated, I'm like, okay, I need to figure out how to get some me time so that I can stay in the game. And I think that's just important for all of us, whether it's an employee situation, whether it's a spouse situation, a children situation. We just know when we're reaching those limits. And the sooner we can begin to realize it, the more power we have in making sure that we don't hurt ourselves or the people around us, because that's not our desire. And I never want to be that kind of person. But are there days that, yeah, I come home and the dishes aren't done? I'm like, well, thank you for the opportunity to serve you. That's not necessarily good, but I'm like, I am so grateful for those kids that I have them. And I wouldn't want my life to not have them, but I'm not very grateful at that moment in the dishes. So,
Right. Yeah. And that's a lot of dishes too.
yeah, yeah.
So you said the words getting healthy.
Mhm.
What does that mean to you?
For me, it's a combination of a lot of things. It has to do with physically, what am I doing with my body? It has to do with what I am eating and drinking and putting inside of my body. It has a lot to do with my mental health, my spiritual health. Also, a lot of times we've got stuff in our histories kind of stored in there that we have just shut off. We don't even remember, right? And so, but my nervous system knows how to react when it fears that I'm in danger. And I
Mhm.
might not be in danger in a situation now, but my body doesn't know the difference. And so I have to learn to be attuned to those things too, to begin to work on, okay, what is triggering in there and why is it triggering? And what do I need to do to help my body learn that this is actually an okay environment now, that it's safe? And so I have to work on all those things. And what I find is I got to have some accountability, and it's not generally my husband. So, I have this group of young girls that are doing, we call ourselves the Forge, and they are doing with me reading one chapter in the Bible, walking 1 mile, and doing a 15-minute muscle kind of workout. And we're doing it every day. And so these girls, these teens are wonderful challengers to me to go, okay, I got to get out there and get my miles in. So I would go, hey, who are you putting in your life to help make it fun too?
Yeah. I appreciate all that because typically if you ask somebody what is health, the
Hmm.
they think the right answer is what you eat and how you move, and that's it.
Hmm.
But the whole point of all of what I'm doing is like, no, it's so much more. It's your mental health, your spiritual health, your surroundings. Like, what does your environment, your physical environment look like? What does your mental environment look like?
Yeah.
Cluttered,
Hmm.
And so it's like all these, and as I told you before, I've been calling it whole human health because that's what we are. We're whole humans, and it's
Yes. Mhm.
so much what you put in your body and how you move are important, but that's probably like the smallest piece of the puzzle, I think.
Oh yeah. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
we had our last kid move out of the house, and I was like, we gotta clean those rooms up and organize them and all this. My husband's like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, because I can't stand the clutter. It's like I gotta take care of that. He's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, it'll be much better when it's done.
Yeah. I also want to point out too for the listener, that means that's different for everyone. Like your version of decluttering is going to be different than my version of decluttering and
Hmm.
his version of decluttering and so there's no one right way to do health as long as it's healthy for you.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So this is a podcast of stories. Um, and I think when people share their stories and their vulnerability, it really can help another human with either a small or a big mind shift. So my question for you is, do you have a story of triumph or a story of aha or a story of, oh boy, my life just changed? Anything like that you want to share?
Of course I do. Yeah, we all do if we just stop and think about it. But I would say, we'll just say, kind of in the last 10 years or so, I have, I mentioned I was CEO. I built a successful career. I know how to solve problems. I believed hard work and discipline could fix almost anything, and then I got an injury. A truck door shut on my leg and ripped a big hole in it, and my body wouldn't heal. It couldn't heal it. I'd gone to wound doctors. The wound doctor was like, I'm putting you in the hospital. And I'm like, I'm not going. I'm going to figure a way out of this. And I did with a nutritionist, going at it in a natural way. But that's not really the big part of the story. The big part of the story was I was actually at that point forced to confront a truth I'd never considered. And that is, you can't negotiate trust with your body. You have to earn it. Your body has to trust you. And so I thought success meant I could outwork any obstacle, and that included my body. And then my body stops responding the way I was expecting, right? And here I am. I always wanted to be a young grandma, and here I am, and they're trying to put me in the hospital. And this injury really got staph infection, everything else. It should have killed me. And I realized that healing wasn't just physical. It required building trust in all these different areas that we've been talking about with myself. And so I always like to say, because I work with businesses to help them understand trust and structure, this same architecture of trust that I teach businesses that governs organization also governs our relationships with our bodies, our decisions, and our lives. And it's trust isn't something you demand from other people. It's something you build with yourself. And when trust breaks, everything else crumbles. And so for me, it really caused me to rethink everything as far as health goes. And I got it healed. And then when I got it healed, I looked at the nutritionist and I said, dude, there must be something I'm supposed to learn because this is terrible. And I want to be around a long time. And so we began working very hard on the food and drinks that I eat, the movement that I got, my mental health. And a lot of what had happened in my life over the years was stress externally, stress internally as my body became more and more unhealthy. And I didn't even realize that I was in the pressure cooker. And what, when you don't realize it, you begin to think it's just normal. And I think a lot of people that are listening probably have just lived in high stress so long that they can't even tell you when their bodies are calm.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I remember the first time we kind of got mine to calm down, and I was like, I need to go hibernate for like 6 months because I'm like, this is so weird. But now, 6 years later, I can begin to identify when my body starts telling me something's wrong. I might not know exactly what it is, but something's wrong. Maybe I ate the wrong thing. Maybe my nervous system is going off. Maybe my mind's in a bad place, but I can now begin to identify it. And it took a lot of work for me to be able to, for my body to be able to trust me with what I was putting in and what I was doing and the frameworks that I was setting. But, what I learned was, hey, I made progress and then something would come up, the pressure would go up, and I would go, oh, I can see that that's still a problem. I need to make more adjustments. So it wasn't condemnation or shame because this is always a journey in health. And so it was like, okay, this is the problem. Let's make the adjustments so that next time I come in here or I do this, I know to pick an alternative way or to make sure I have some time out or to make sure that I've looked at alternative foods or I have, if I have a big, huge fundraiser event that I have put staff in place so that I can have some calm time before I have to get on the stage. All those types of things. But I learned that because of that truck lesson with that wound on my leg was so painful from the perspective of having to deal with, I might not be able to be here. And I wanted to be here. And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to be here for the long term, I've got to learn to make some changes. And so I think for your listeners that might be younger than me, and that might be a lot of them, is that, hey, learn from an old lady like me and make the changes early in all of these areas so that you can maximize the amount of impact you have because we want to be impact players and we can't do it if our bodies aren't working for us the way we need them to. So on all those levels.
Yeah. I have several questions that popped up. The first I want to ask, like, it's kind of implied, but do you think that your injury not healing was directly related to the amount of stress you were under?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. 100%. And the really shocking thing was the wound doctor's like, I've never seen anything like that. I'm like, you're the wound doctor. You're not. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he was like, I don't know what that is in there. We tested it, and it was terrible. And I have had to fight that staph infection for 6 years and working to get it out of my body. And that means, hey, you can't have sugar. You can't do these. You got to make these adjustments, right?
Right.
And I also have to look at like how stressful is my life because I already told you all the things I get to do. So we know that my life is already going to generate stress just based on all the titles I gave you. And if that's the case, then how do I prepare myself for it? Because God has called me to these roles that I am in right now. And if He's called me, then love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self control, that can all come out of me. And if I'm not getting that out of me, then I'm stressing my body. And it's interesting because right now in this season, I obviously do a quiet time in the morning, but you know what? He's been telling me to sit still longer.
Mm.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? I got like a billion things to do. But it's fascinating because when I do that, then not that everything's easy, but everything seems to fall in line. When I don't do that, then I begin to rely on myself. That's when it gets more and more stressful. So I might still have challenging things, but I totally approach them differently. And I think that that is the art of what we want to learn and how we walk through this. But yeah, 100%. dependent on stress. I mean,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I mentioned that because, we don't realize how much stress and emotions affect our physical being, especially like the stuffers. I used to stuff my emotions. It shows up as sickness, it shows up as cancer, it shows up as autoimmune diseases. And
Yep.
like some people are unable to make that connection. They just go, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
Because they're only thinking like everything's connected.
Right.
Everything as the
Mhm.
whole human, everything's connected. And
Mhm.
so I just wanted to be like,
Uh,
example.
I am
Yeah.
100% that. I'm go learn from me. So
Yeah.
don't do what I did. Learn, just take the lessons and go with that. That was probably your best bet. But I do think it's so powerful to just understand how interconnected it is. And, if we find ourselves turning to drugs or alcohol, or turning to sugars, or turning to laying around on the couch, or turning to, these are indicators for us that we might need to step back or get someone else to look, or like in my case, maybe I perform harder, do
Yeah.
more because I can't, I'm lagging behind. And so I know I got to do that. Then I go, okay, someone's got to give because this will kill us. And we don't want it to kill us. And so that's really the biggest lesson for me was
Mm.
learning that wow, stress does have a lot of the I mean, it's fascinating when as I went through this journey that, once we began to remove a lot of the toxins from my body as I worked really hard on that, I just had inches fall off my body. And it was because I had stress and toxins all locked in the cells, just being held, right? Until my body could clean itself up enough. And then I was like, hey, I got in a different size pants. I have never been in that size pants.
Yeah.
So it was very exciting, but I was like, oh my gosh, that's all stress stored on my body. And so
Yeah.
I have my nutritionist, he says, no, there are no fat people. It's just stress people generally. So,
Hmm.
isn't that interesting? I was like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah. I've also heard we're not over fat, we're under muscled.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
But anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Um, you talked about self-trust,
Mhm.
and I do a lot of trust work from the perspective of like getting rid of diet culture, like the fad diets, like all the stuff that we're told we're supposed to do. And the self-trust piece comes in is like we hear this stuff so often, we stop listening to our own bodies and we only look to the outside on what to do next with our body. And so that's where my self-trust work comes in. I'm curious where your self-trust work comes in with people and, specifically in leadership, um, and how that all works together and plays out.
Yeah. Okay. So here's just a really interesting tool that you can use, and I use it in businesses. But you know, the question is, we all say we trust something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, like with the stool or whatever, or the chair you're sitting in, we obviously have just jumped on it and sat on it because we knew we could trust it. Right. And under pressure, me sitting on it, it's held. Right. And so we know that we can trust that stool. So in our lives, we have certain things that we trust. So I might say, that I trust Jesus in every circumstance. Okay. And the way we know what we trust is when the pressure in our lives goes up. Okay.
Mm.
When the pressure goes up, then you and I are going to default to our natural trust mechanisms. Okay. And more than likely, these are potentially things that we have learned for survival in earlier stages. Okay. So, like, I'll give you, for instance, part of my story is that I had quads that died in my arms
Mm.
many, many years ago. Okay. And obviously, I could not control whether or not those boys survived. Right. And I had to walk through that difficult season. Well, when the stress goes up in my life, my default mechanism is to control the situation, right? And I learned that because I had no control with my boys. And
Mhm.
so my default is if I can control it, then we can figure out how to get through it. Or I can control it, we can build it to the next level. Well, that's fine as long as I can show up 100% all the time. Okay. And the weird thing that the really ironic thing is that, you know what? The world celebrates the fact that I can control and hustle. And it's caused me to be able to build the ministry that I've built and all that. But when I got that injury, I couldn't show up 100% anymore. So when I couldn't show up 100%, things started showing up as cracks because I
Mm.
wasn't filling the gaps. And so we had to do some things in our organization to fix the structure, right? The same thing happens in our body. Okay. When the pressure goes up for me individually, even in my house, what do? I want to control the situation. If I can't control the situation, my stress goes up and I clamp down, and then I become a person I don't really like. And so you and I have to recognize what we naturally default to and control, hustle. You talked about stuffing, seeking the world's approval. Those are some common ones that are out there. And if we don't like the ultimate result of those, what we need to look at is when we lost it and went to those ways to get through the world, what is it that was going on? And what is it that we in our bodies, or what we put into our bodies, or the situation, could we have changed somewhat? What could we tweak so next time the pressure goes up, we don't default to that? So if mine's control, I might put in a safety net where we have maybe I want to control everybody getting in the car 10 minutes before we're supposed to leave. So I just in my mind plan for us to leave at, 20 minutes before. And then, I don't have to feel the pressure to force everybody to do anything because now we've got a little bit more time built in, right? So I start things earlier. Well, that's going to make it where I'm not as stressed and I'm not going to default to this other thing. And then I can still have love, joy, peace, all those things that I want to
Yeah.
have. So I think it's a matter of, like you said, learning to understand who we are and how we operate. And then there's no shame in the fact that I'm a control freak. Okay. It's just a problem if I just live there. And so
Right.
I need to understand that I need to work on myself so that I don't default there, because that's not the best person that I want to be. And it changes how I go about things. And then guess what? The pressure goes up. I learn something, make some tweaks, and the pressure goes up again. And I learn some more and I make some tweaks. This is life. This is a journey.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. This is where I encourage listeners. They're probably so sick of hearing me say this, but this is where noticing without judging comes in. It's where you just notice
mhm,
your thoughts, you notice your behaviors, you notice your habits without judgment as much as we can. I mean, of course, we will judge some of it, but
mhm.
because sometimes you'll notice something that you didn't even know you do or say or think. And if you don't know that you do or say or think that thing, you don't have the option to change it if you want. It's like it puts you at choice once you know it's there. So that to me, it's part of like figuring out how you operate so that you can build that trust with yourself.
Yeah, and it's about being
Yeah.
very, very intentional. And I like to call it just a data point, because a
Data
data
point. I like that
point,
too.
it's just a data point. It's just
Yeah.
a reference. And I go, okay, I don't like that data. Let's tweak it. And so then it's like, it's not this emotional thing, because the truth is, if we spend our time looking back, we are always going to pick up shame and guilt. Okay. And if
Hmm.
we spend all our time looking forward, we're going to pick up anxiety and worry. We don't need all that. Stay in the present, work on the present, because this is the only thing we can absolutely change, right?
Hmm.
It's right here, right now. And I go, okay, I don't like that data point. Let's make it different. And let's see if I
Yeah.
get a different result. And it'll be good. And like I tell my grandkids, some consequences are good, some are bad, and we got to learn from all
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
them.
And also with the data points, you don't have to change everything. You could be like, "Ooh, I like that."
Yeah.
I'm keeping that, you know?
When I go through a very difficult situation and I'm still peaceful, my kids always knew if mom said, you know, bring it on. Today's a good day. When I was in a really good place, they were like, forget it. We're not
Yeah.
messing with you today. But I'm
Awesome.
going, that's what we want to be all the time, right? Is we want to get there. And it's just a journey. It is a
Hmm.
lifelong journey that we are
Yeah.
on. And we're going to have highs and lows and stressors and, people die or pass on, or we have financial issues. We have all these things. And it's just an opportunity for us to learn how to. And here's the deal, if we learn how to walk through them well, everyone is watching us. So, like all my employees watch how I walk through things. And
Yeah.
my deepest desire is to be able to teach them how to walk through things well. And, my grandchildren watch how I walk through things, and my children, so everybody's watching us. And it's a wonderful gift when we can teach them how to walk through life well. And that, includes everything physically, mentally, spiritually, all of these things working together. And I think that's just a valuable gift that we have to give.
Yeah. I love that.
I think the biggest thing that I would say is that for everybody listening, don't forget it's a journey. This is not
Mm.
like, and I remember telling my kids sometimes, I'm like, okay, when we're going through the journey of life and we're in our car, sometimes we hit speed bumps at 5 miles an hour, or very slow, and it's easy to get over. Then you hit them at 10 and it's a little bit rougher. And then you hit them at 100 miles an hour and it's like the whole car falls apart. Um,
Right.
that is life. And, we can choose our responses and we can choose to set ourselves up for success. And so I go, it's okay. It's okay if today doesn't work as well as we thought, because you know what? The sun is going to come up tomorrow and we're going to get another chance. And
Yeah.
it's just the next best step. And let's figure it out.
Mm. Well, I have one more question for you, and I think you might have just answered it, but yeah. If everybody in the entire world stopped what they were doing and looked at you and said, Debbie, please give me some advice, what would you say?
I'd add on to what I just said. Okay. So for me, it's all about staying in the present and movement. Okay. So something that I teach people is a lot of times you and I like to, when something comes our way, we like to spend our time saying why. Okay.
Hmm.
Why me? Why now? Why this? Why? Why did I lose my boys? And the truth of the matter is that even if we got the answer to why, our next question would be why, because it wouldn't be good enough. Why never satisfies. Okay. So one of the things that we have to learn to do is to lay down our why and to begin to ask, how do I survive the situation that I'm in? And then ultimately, as I move through that, is how do I thrive? But the key to that is, what is that next best step we can take? And to take those small steps. And that is how we work our way on the journey. And it's a beautiful thing because, losing my boys could have ended everything for me. And I was just like, I got to figure out how to survive. I got to figure out how to thrive. And then out of it comes, adopting the 9 children and all of these grandchildren and creating the ministry. And it's all because I just did the next best step that I could think of. Not the next right one, the next best one.
Yeah.
And I let God kind of lead me. So I go, just take a step, because in the movement is where we begin to get better.
Beautiful beasts, Debbie Simmons signing off. Until next time.